Am I the asshole for faking food poisoning to teach my boyfriend a lesson? So, my boyfriend, 28 male, and I, 26 female, both love to cook and are very good at it. We often make meals together and it's something we really bond over. However, he has a serious issue with cross-contamination that drives me insane. As a result, I feel like I have to constantly keep an eye on him to make sure that he is sanitizing things properly. It frustrates me that I feel like I have to watch him, and it frustrates him whenever I point out something he's done that seems unsanitary. Last Friday evening, we were making carnitas when I noticed that he was using the same knife and cutting board that he had used to chop raw pork, to then cut up onions and radishes.
Hell no.
I could literally see red splotches on the cutting board from where the meat had been sitting. I pointed out that whenever I need to cut both meat and produce, that I always do the produce first, so that way I can use the same knife and cutting board without having to worry about cross-contamination. I then told him that we couldn't use the onions and radishes for this dish because I was not about to top my carnitas with them now that they were contaminated with raw pork.
Yeah.
He flipped out and kept saying, "It's not like it's chicken." I said, "So what? It's still raw meat and there's still potential for foodborne illness." He wouldn't let it go. So finally I was like, "Fine, I'll eat your tainted fucking produce," which pissed him off further. He stormed off into our bedroom and refused to finish cooking with me. Without him knowing, I cut up new onions and radishes for garnishing and we ate dinner separately. The next day we were supposed to go to his parents' place as they were hosting a congratulatory dinner because my boyfriend recently got a new job. In the morning, I faked being ill and hung out in my bed watching Netflix and reading most of the day. He seemed baffled by my being sick. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I did eat those onions and radishes that you were so pressed about. He looked irritated after that, but he seemed to believe that I was actually sick. When it came time to start getting ready to head out to his parents' house, I said I was still too ill and ended up staying home. His mother, it's kind of funny. His mother messaged me later on explaining that it was extremely rude of me to have missed the dinner and that I should have taken some Pepto-Bismol or something so that I could be there to celebrate with them. I didn't even bother responding, and when my boyfriend returned home that night, I could tell he was bummed, but not mad, that I missed the dinner. Multiple people in his family are now pissed because they think I'm an unsupportive girlfriend. I do feel guilty about missing this dinner since it was important to him, but I was also at my wit's end as I've tried to talk about the contamination thing with him nicely many times in the past, but he always gets pissed off about it and then doesn't change his ways. Am I the asshole?
So here's where I stand on this kind of thing. I think there's only a few really important moments in life. And by a few, I mean like there's plenty, but they're few and far in between. And going to a dinner that's celebrating a big life change or a big accomplishment or celebrating someone, I don't think that's the time to take out your feelings on a completely unrelated manner. I think for moments like that where for moments that you're celebrating with someone, you gotta go. I think you gotta suck it up and go. I get that this is annoying and that's been a repeated problem, but I don't think these are the things to take it out on. I think you can do that with a dinner that you two had planned or something that's between you two. I don't think it should have to extend out like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for one, would be on the exact same, like I would have the same mindset.
It's disgusting.
Well, and for me, it's always chicken because I don't have red meat really. So when I cut chicken,
You're meticulous.
but in a lot of times with the way I cook, the chicken takes longer. So I am cutting up vegetables or something afterward. I scrub that goddamn board. I take that brush and I feel like I take a layer off that thing.
Oh yeah, you do.
And
Easily. Maybe
I'm
two.
like, I'm not getting contaminated. Like I hate food poisoning.
You're very scared about food poisoning.
I've been on the wrong end of that so many times. I don't like leaving chicken out. I mean, we've been over this.
Yeah.
On this show, we've been over this many a time.
I'm a disgusting person.
But you would still clean a cutting board.
Cutting board, absolutely. But no, like I'll leave pizza out overnight and still eat it the next morning.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same thing. Like you take the raw chicken out to the grill on the plate. You don't put the cooked chicken back on the plate and bring it back in the house.
But
Right? And so
no.
I'm on board with that. And I get how that would become very annoying and you almost have to watch because you're like, I'm not eating that shit.
No.
You take whatever risk you want, but I'm not doing that. Like that stuff just no. I'm on the same page with that. But I just feel like with a celebratory dinner or something of the sort, it's just not the place to take a stand and try and force change that way. So
I'm torn. I'm really torn because of the fact that she says, I've tried to ask him nicely many times in the past, but he always gets pissed off about it and then doesn't change his ways.
yeah.
So like I look at it where I'm like, I'm kind of agreeing with you where I'm like, okay, yes, it's not the time. It's not the place. Like this is a big deal for him. He's very excited. It's a big accomplishment, big new job, promotion, whatever.
Right.
So I'm like, well, because he's kind of a dick and doesn't give a fuck about cross-contamination or what you have to say, you're probably going to get another opportunity to fake sick if you really want to do it to prove a point. Like you're probably going to get another shot because your boyfriend just doesn't give a fuck about cross-contamination.
Right.
But then I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, well, this is a big moment. And so maybe it is the moment to kind of like, you reap what you sow, buddy. Like you made me eat fucking pork blood onions. So
I can see that.
I'm torn. I'm real torn.
I can see that. I just think you might, when you start fighting fire with fire, you start opening up the potential for things to get worse. And I get you've approached it from a try to ask nicely and things, but then maybe get to the point where, and I understand too, because the feelings fresh happened the night before.
Yeah.
So I understand it. I do think in the long run, especially if things change and things work out, you will regret missing that. I think, at least for me, I feel like I would regret missing something like that.
Yeah.
But if the ways don't change and it becomes that big of a deal, then this is a thing where you say, I think counseling, or I think we need to reevaluate our situation.
Yeah, I mean, this could easily be a deal breaker. For a lot of people, this probably would be a deal breaker.
Sure, but I think that's the way to approach it is that's gonna alert him. That's gonna really be like, okay, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Missing dinner is kind of like, I mean, it made him upset. It's not gonna make him want to not cook or not cross-contaminate. I think the two aren't gonna be associated.
True.
It's more like you need to say, hey, I have a problem with this. And if this doesn't change,
I'm out.
I'm starting to kind of lose interest.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, again, like it doesn't seem like they can handle points of conflict very well because of the fact he always gets pissed off about it and then doesn't change his ways. So like
Right.
maybe you do need a third party, like a couples therapist, to kind of establish healthier ways of communication during points of, turmoil or contention. So overall vote on this one was asshole. Top comment is, you're the
That's what
asshole.
I'm thinking.
Yes, he should make changes so he doesn't cross-contaminate, but this was hella petty of you. And you missed an important event just to prove a point and be spiteful. That is very immature. And so someone goes, while lying to him, this is more than immature. This sounds psychotic. And someone goes, psychotic, experiencing psychosis, unable to distinguish between beliefs and reality, sometimes inducing hallucinations. Not psychotic, but manipulative and mean. That is that. Are you ready for the update?
Love the update.
I actually read this one too before the update came out, and I remember seeing it. And I think when I listened to it, I was like, God, if you really have to go to extreme measures like that to prove a point, and be petty like that, I'm like, why? What's the point? Are you happy?
Right, exactly.
What's the fucking point?
That was my thought, yeah.
What's the fucking point? So on to the update.
Oh, wow.
I received quite a few messages regarding this post, and I figured I would give an update since something incredibly ironic happened anyway. To start, many of you suggested that I purchase color-coded knives and cutting boards and that I have a serious discussion with him about the subject. These are things I have done in the past, but I figured another try wouldn't hurt. I sat down with him and explained that although cross-contamination might not be a big deal to him, that it is to me, and that it would make me feel a lot better if he would please take my feelings into consideration. He promised me that he would be more careful, but then the next afternoon, I saw him put a cutting board away without washing it after having chopped raw chicken on it.
Come on.
This obviously bothered me, but I decided not to say anything since we were fresh out of conflict. The same night, I took him out for a nice dinner as a way to make up for missing the one at his parents' house. We had a lovely time, and things seemed to be on the mend for a few hours. Later that night, however, he developed really terrible food poisoning.
Yep.
And to make matters worse, he was supposed to start his new job the next morning and ended up calling in sick. He blamed me
Oh, yeah.
for it because he thought that the food at the restaurant was what made him ill. I told him that I didn't see how it could have been that because we shared the dishes and I was feeling fine.
Yeah, and she didn't cook it.
The following day, his mother called and let us know that she had just taken his dad to the hospital. Apparently, he had been feeling super unwell, and we all assumed it was related to a chronic disease that he's had for a few years now. He ended up needing multiple blood transfusions, and tests found none other than E. coli in his urine. In the days following, my boyfriend continued to miss work, and I discovered that about half the people that attended his celebration dinner the weekend before ended up sick. A bunch of other bullshit happened with his mother trying to blame me for, quote, getting people sick, but I won't even bother going down that rabbit hole at the moment.
Wow.
If you hadn't already guessed, my boyfriend got fired from his job without having worked a single day there. Guess not showing up during your first week isn't a good look. On the bright side, he has shown a sudden and intense interest in kitchen hygiene. Apparently getting sick himself and having his dad end up in the hospital is what it took. It's been a couple of weeks since this all took place. A lot of you suggested that I break things off, and at this point, I think I may be headed in that direction. Edit, since some of you are wondering, my boyfriend has gotten sick like this more than once, but he usually has other reasons why he thinks he's not feeling well. Both of his parents have gotten the, quote, stomach flu a few times since we've been together. His dad has a blood disease that has progressed over the years, and so this recent bout of illness put him in pretty bad shape. I always thought my boyfriend had a sensitive stomach. We only began living and cooking together about a year ago, and I hadn't realized the severity of his lack of kitchen hygiene until then.
That is absolute true karma.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy about the dad. That's scary.
I know.
I don't understand why when people get really upset and realize that they've been wrong, start to try and blame people in ridiculous ways. I think that is...
I know, mom. You got us all sick.
Well, and him blaming her for taking him to dinner. Like, that stuff, I don't even need to talk about it. How do you put a goddamn cutting board away after cutting raw chicken on it? What do you mean put away? Put like in the kitchen cabinet?
Yeah.
Put away?
Yeah.
Like in there, like,
yeah.
And it's not like when you cut, I mean, you can cut carrots and there's not going to be anything on the board. When you cut chicken, there's fucking
fucking
stuff.
blood. There's blood. Some chicken has blood.
Yeah, but that's not like the most common. It's more like just pieces of chicken stick, like little tiny pieces. There's stuff all over the board.
So I don't know how true this stat is. And yeah.
Can you literally imagine pushing that back into the cabinet?
No, that's actually vomit-inducing.
I mean, what does he do? Cook and then not clean the pans too?
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
Oh my God.
So this is like a stat I heard. I don't know where, when, but I just wanted to fact check it. And it's the same. It's the same with a lot of our foods that we produce. And like maybe it was a fucking PSA for
Yeah.
veganism. But a lot of the chicken you buy from the store has poop particles in it. And milk, cow's milk, has pus, blood in it. But like raw chicken especially has like a lot of feces in the meat. And so I just like wanted to fact check. And based on a small sample size, 48% of chicken has E. coli in it.
Yeah, you can't fuck around with chicken. Like, I see people eat raw eggs and shit on TikTok, but,
Ugh.
well, and it's way smaller for eggs. Like, way smaller.
Yeah, and
But
eggs
chicken is just.
eggs is like salmonella. That's
Chicken. Oh, yeah. But chicken is just not. Like, you gotta cook that shit. That's why every time I make food, I'm like, dude, I don't think the chicken's done.
I know. Yeah, you're really scared about it.
I'm checking that. That's why I got the thermometer.
Yeah.
165.
Yeah, no, it's ugh. And this was on like a lot of these are from the best of Reddit updates just because it's like so nicely compiled.
Yeah.
And like they link another post she had recently where it was like, have you ever considered breaking up with your partner because of their parents? And
That's a whole, that's a whole
Again,
different part of this
a
thing.
whole another can of worms. But again, like even with this resolution, thank God his dad is okay. But like if this is really what it took for him to shape up,
It's gonna,
even after she had another serious conversation with him.
Well, it's like, what's the next thing gonna be?
Yeah, it seems like he's the type of person that doesn't really care about what his partner like finds important or what their feelings are until it like directly affects him.
Right.
It took
Right.
having this happen to his dad for him to really give a shit.
Right. And then you start to think, well, what other issues could we have that will take extreme things to make him actually realize that I am right? I think conflict resolution's probably the biggest piece of a long-term relationship.
Yes. And one thing I saw that there was a trend on TikTok for a while where it was like, it was really good. But it was like, what's the best piece of advice a therapist has ever given you? And this one lady comes up and she says, I go to couples therapy with my long-term partner. The best piece of advice that we've ever gotten is that you don't always have to have a resolution or come to an agreement during a fight.
Right.
You can disagree. You can agree to disagree. And like they basically like explained that like you're both okay to have your opinions as long as it's not going to like really really impact you, and then celebrate your fight with something. So their tradition was like going out for dumplings after a big fight.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, but it was like you always like, I mean, even in my mind I'm like, okay, if you and your partner are like really at odds with something, I kind of had in my head too. And maybe this is just me like being my over analyzing. I fixate on problems when I have a fight like in any area of my life. But I think like that is kind of an interesting concept to wrap your head around. There doesn't have to be a solution at all. You can just move on, agree to move on.
But in this situation, there was a clear right and wrong.
Oh, 100%.
Clear.
Yeah, the raw, I think this for me would be a breakup. I don't think this is a couples therapy can fix this person's ways. And I think he might shape up for a little bit, but I think eventually he'll slip back into his chicken in the cutting board
I feel
ways.
like after that,
PTSD, he'll be
I feel like
scarred.
I feel like that will really change his ways, but it's just the way of thinking and the way of dealing with the situation and how that will apply to other points of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily cross-contamination in the kitchen, but anything else like that.
Yeah, no, his style of communication and conflict resolution is not good. Very poor. Good luck, lady.